Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is your host, Emmanuel Isaiah Smith, and today's date is Monday, April 13th, 2025. Scratch that. Monday, April 13th, 2026, ladies and gentlemen. I have to catch myself every now and again with that. The time is 5:01 p.m. and I am in Miami-Dade County, Florida. The topic of today's lecture is The Ghosts of Christmas Past, Part 4. The Shaker Heights, Ohio Puzzle. And this is Part 2 of the Shaker Heights, Ohio Puzzle mini-series. And it is subtitled Further Examinations. Ladies and gentlemen, I tend to do these lectures outdoors, and I may have to raise or project my voice from time to time in order to drown out the background noise. Please adjust your volume accordingly, and thank you for tuning in. I would like to, ladies and gentlemen, get right into the main talking points of this lecture. I have decided to do a Ghosts of Christmas Past lecture. I call a lot of the people that I knew in Shaker Heights, Ohio, particularly people that I was athletic teammates with, the Ghosts of Christmas Past. Because it's like that Ebenezer Scrooge movie, A Christmas Carol, where the night before Christmas, Ebenezer Scrooge was visited by the ghosts of Christmas past. And these ghosts are thousands of years old. And they have come back from the past into the future to give Ebenezer Scrooge a lesson on social civility. And after his visit with the ghosts of Christmas past, he was a changed man. And on Christmas morning, he did lots of good deeds for people in the territory known as England, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's where the movie was set. I believe it was originally a novel by the renowned novelist and poet Charles Dickens. And sometimes I feel like Ebenezer Scrooge when I'm dealing with Shaker Heights, Ohio persons. Particularly those I went to school with. Now, keep something in mind, ladies and gentlemen. There are some people from Shaker Heights High School from the 1999 to 2003 range that if I saw them today, I'd say hello to them, shake their hand, see how they are. But then there were others that harvested some sort of a hidden envy for this young man in his high school days, a track athlete and a basketball player, a kid that kind of did things my own way, probably a little antisocial, which gang stalking will do that to you. I'm probably antisocial now. Ladies and gentlemen, what happens when people that you knew 20 to 25 years ago, particularly from high school, reemerge to wreak havoc, not only in your life, but in the lives of people that you know? Particularly out of a phony sense of retribution from some past wrong that you committed against them in your teenage years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my high school career was fairly cut and dry. There wasn't anything terribly unusual about my high school years, aside from the fact that my senior year I transferred back to my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee, and left Shaker Heights, Ohio. Now, this was at the end of my junior year. Now, listen to my part 1 lecture on the Ghost of Christmas Past, the Shaker Heights, Ohio puzzle, in order to get the full story behind that. I'm going to give you an abbreviated version of part 1 today. So to make a long story short, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, I found myself having walked away from a basketball team at Shaker Heights High School to join a new basketball team in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Bearden High School Bulldogs. And I don't know if my Shaker Heights, Ohio teammates felt slighted by my departure. I was supposed to be the starting power forward the following year, and the team had a mediocre season. They went 10-10 and got trounced in the playoffs by their crosstown rivals. Such is the nature of sports, such is the nature of life, ladies and gentlemen. If there's anybody from that school, particularly those from the Ohio basketball team, and that includes the coaches at Shaker Heights, Ohio too, you have any kind of a vendetta or problem that you wish to remedy, there are more manly ways of doing it than tapping into people's gang stalking campaigns. All right? I saw these Shaker Heights dudes running around Kendall 5 or 6 months ago. Some of them were wearing disguises. One drove past me in a car while I was walking from the library to Target. I saw one of them on the Metro rail wearing a disguise. And I saw these guys all around Miami. Guys I played basketball with 20 to 25 years ago. And they didn't appear to come in peace either. They didn't say hi. They didn't wave. They didn't say, hey, haven't seen you in a while. No, they thought they were spying, but they weren't. And the reason they weren't spying, because I knew who the hell they were. And I could peep them. So all I can say is this. I hope you boys didn't have anything to do with any of the problems that I've faced down here, particularly with narco-terrorists. I hope you boys haven't had nothing to do with any of the issues I faced in Dayton, considering that my home was broken into 12 times in 10 months. I hope none of you boys damaged my vehicle while I was at the University of Dayton in classes. I hope none of you boys had anything to do with the death of my 28-year-old cousin a few years ago. I hope you boys didn't have nothing to do with the gang rape of a female cousin about a dozen or so years ago. I hope you Shaker boys and those coaches didn't have nothing to do with any of the issues or any of the malfeasances or the deleterious circumstances that I've faced. All right, I haven't seen none of yous in 25 years. I'm not sure how close we were in high school, if you want to know the truth, even as teammates. I don't think you fellas liked me coming into that school district in 1998 as an 8th grader and immediately starting on those sports teams. I think you all felt slighted by that. And I think that there was a growing hatred of me as a man, as a young man, from you boys. as the years progressed, and by the end of my junior year, I said, you know what? I want to enjoy my senior year. I got to leave Shaker. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, there are still persons from that school that I didn't play sports with that I thought were solid people, grade A individuals. So I think the classes of 2002, 2003, and 2004 had some guys that played on those basketball teams that may have had some sort of a vendetta. And I think a number of you may have tapped into my gang stalking campaign to try to get back at me for something. I never gave that a thought until recently. But now that it's on my mind, I'm calling you out. You obviously know how to find me, because when I was running errands in Kendall, Florida, you all found me pretty quickly. So that means you know how to use street theater, and you know how to use gang stalking's tracking mechanisms. So find me now. Look me in my face like men and tell me what your problem is, because I found you. You understand? I recognized you even through the disguises. And I think it's in you fellas' best interest not to try me. It was probably ignorant to try me in the first place, because I know all your names. And I got your pictures up on my Facebook page in the school yearbook. Do not try me. If I have not talked to you in 25 years, it's probably for a reason. It is unhealthy and unwise to sort of appear out of nowhere using spying mechanisms if I haven't spoken to you. You know, I kind of got the gist too through the street theater mechanism I was seeing that you all were claiming to be representing me on my project, or that y'all were managing my project for me. Don't do that, fellas. That'll land you in a really sticky civil suit. Don't do that. Don't act like you're representing me on my project, and don't act like you're doing any of my work or my research for me either. I am the sole proprietor of EIS Media Group and Bible Discourses LLC, and I am the sole lecturer in the EIS Media Group lecture series. Don't tell anybody that this is a collaborative effort with me and guys I used to play basketball with at Shaker, because it ain't. I've run this project solo for the past 10 years. So don't go around telling people, fellas, that this was a collaborative effort, because it ain't. And again, I'm not even sure how close we were in high school when we were on the same athletic teams. Now that I look back on it, and I can give it a deeper perspective to my audience, having looked back on it, recollected on the situation, I'm not sure how close I was with any of yous. If you really want to know the truth, as basketball teammates, I don't know what any of your problems were back then, but I didn't have a problem with none of you back then. But we weren't particularly close. That I do remember. And quite frankly, I hope none of those coaches of yours, all right, had anything to do with any of this stuff either. I hope they didn't. All right, I hope the Shaker Heights Red Raiders men's basketball team is being run cleanly. I hope you ain't doing any point shaving. I hope y'all ain't doing any gambling. I hope you boys ain't throwing games. For cash. I hope you're not wrapped up in the bookie system. I hope nobody on the Shaker Heights Red Raiders, past, present, or future, was using steroids. I hope ain't none of you dealing dope. I hope ain't none of you cheating on your homework or your exams so you can stay eligible. I remember back in the 2001-2002 season, which was my final season at Shaker Heights High School, I remember that there were a number of tournaments that we competed in the state of Florida, and these tournaments were attended by scouts from various colleges and NBA teams, because there was a future NBA player in Amari Stoudemire, who at the time was, if I'm not mistaken, the number 2 high school basketball prospect in the country. The number 1 high school basketball prospect in the country that year was LeBron James. But I remember Amari Stoudemire was number 2, and he played in this Cypress, I don't know if it was Cypress, Florida, or it might have been Orlando, Florida, that we played in this tournament in Orlando, Florida, the Shaker Heights Red Raiders. And there were a lot of scouts there to watch Amari Stoudemire play, because he was projected to go to the NBA right out of high school. And he did. And he ended up having a successful career with the Phoenix Suns. But that's beside the point, ladies and gentlemen. This tournament we played in Florida gave us the opportunity to play against his team, but we ended up not playing against his team, but we had the opportunity to. And there were a lot of scouts present. And some of us wanted to show our skills to the scouts that were present, even though they weren't necessarily there to scout us. They were there to scout Stoudemire. But I remember the coach, Bob Watson, in one of our games tell us, well, you guys got a lot of scouts here. Don't get nervous now. Why are you playing so nervous? And then I guess he accused me of double dribbling or traveling or something with the ball when I got it in the post, which, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how true that could have been. I mean, my 10th grade season, I averaged 23 points a game on the junior varsity team. You don't average 23 points a game on any team traveling all the time or double dribbling or whatever the head coach was accusing me of. Coach Bob Watson. And then I turned around my junior year and I was the starting power forward. I was all-state honorable mention, all-league honorable mention, all-city. I had my fair share of accolades given the minutes I played. But the coach kind of down-talked me there, and I was like, wow. This guy must be confident for next season, because I'm sure as hell not coming back to this school. So he must be confident with that 2003 team without their returning big man, because I'm out of here. And I guess some of you fellas from that team tried to use that as a way to down talk or downplay my athletic abilities. And I think that that's cowardly. That you would take that comment that that coach made and try to use that as a justification for diminishing my athletic abilities typically. However, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here between me and my former teammates at Shaker Heights, Ohio, and probably a coach or two, is a failure to communicate. Now, I'm not saying I had bad relationships with all the coaches. My 8th grade coach, my 9th and 10th grade coach, I had phenomenal relationships with them. And we had a new coach come in from Parma High School my junior year. I thought he was great too. But I think that there were some coaches, there were a lot of coaches on that staff that may have had some sort of a vendetta. And I don't know, maybe you all got together with some of these teammates of mine and tried to orchestrate some catastrophes. I don't know. But like I said, I haven't seen none of yous in 25 years. I haven't talked to anybody from Shaker Heights High School in 25 years. So why am I seeing you in Kendall, Florida with disguises on? What do you want? And what have you been up to? All right, if I remember correctly, I offered you my friendship in high school as a potential leader on the sports team that we were on, and you rejected it. So why am I seeing you 25 years later? Do we have unfinished business? If we do, then you need to tell me what it is, and you need to tell me what it is right now. Because if I keep seeing you, I'm going to think there's some threat of harm if you don't tell me just what it is you're about these days. I mean, for the past 25 years, what have y'all been up to? I've had some weird stuff happen over the past 25 years, not only in my homes, but at my places of employment. And so have people close to me, or rather people in my nuclear and extended families. I didn't see none of y'all do anything, but I'll tell you one thing, seeing y'all cruising around Kendall, out and about at the same time as me, and I know none of y'all live in Miami. Furthermore, me having experienced some of the things that I have over in various other parts of the US of A, it's a little suspicious. And now that I know what gang stalking is, it makes me wonder whether or not some of you are tapped into my gang stalking campaign. Because like I've said, liaisons, undercover operatives, gang stalkers, they're callous, they're useful idiots, and they are perpetually destructive with respect to the TI. That's why I call gang stalking an American travesty, a constitutional failure, a crime against humanity, a failure of government, a failure of American society, and a failure of law and order. All right, it's state-sanctioned pestering, attacks, and germ contamination. And apparently, the handlers of a targeted individual, which are probably the equivalent to liaisons, oftentimes allow his enemies to tap into his gang stalking campaign remotely to cause problems. If that's you all, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And here's why: because you got exposed along with the rest of them. All right, when I exposed gang stalking, when I exposed its actors, its players, its orchestrators, its past, present, and future, and its historical narrative, all right, its causes, its protocols, its inner workings, I exposed you along with it as participants in that program. You understand? 25 years after I last saw you, I see you cruising up and down the street. I see you walking around the block. I see you on and off the metro rail. Some of you wearing disguises. I mean, really? 25 years after I last talked to anybody from Shaker High School. 25 years. And now I see you. That's called street theater. Okay? And it is not something that I consider to be a good thing. If you participate in street theater, that means you're trying to deceive somebody. And you guys are down here with these Cubans too. Now, here's the thing too, ladies and gentlemen. I've already said publicly that the Cuban American population here in South Florida have somewhat of a superiority complex to other ethnicities because they're the majority here. Me personally, I know the history of the Cuban islands narco-terrorist past and its narco-terrorist present. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, it's a situation where you know, if you're from a place like Shaker Heights, Ohio, and you tap into somebody's gang stalking campaign, and you have Cuban American people liaisoning the gang stalking campaign, chances are their English is not going to be quite on par with yours as a Midwesterner. But still, you go through them to get to me. Furthermore, these people probably don't like you on your face, on the surface. Okay, because you're not Spanish speaking, and there's a distrust there. Okay, Cuban Americans have a tendency to distrust people who are not Spanish speaking. So you're going through people who both cannot understand you and who do not trust you, Shaker, so you can get to me. You're going through people who both cannot understand you and they don't trust you, so you can get to me. I'm going to say that one more time for emphasis, ladies and gentlemen, because, you know, this needs to register. All right, everything I say needs to register, but this needs to register. So I'm going to say this again to Shaker, okay? You're going through a demographic of people who don't understand you and who don't trust you so you can get to me. Do you not realize you're putting yourselves in danger doing that foolishness? But that's how bad you want to get your hate out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on alert about these guys for slander, character defamation, probably attempted murder, possibly a first-degree murder, possibly aggravated rape. I'm looking at these guys for a lot of things, okay? Burglary, a lot of things. All right? Having seen these guys cruising around Kendall while I was out and about at the exact same time as me, that means there was some organized or sophisticated entity, possibly military, semi-military, law enforcement, or semi-law enforcement, that guided them to me using gang stalking's auspices. These guys I haven't seen in 25 years, just so they could present themselves to me in a way that was snarky. Hey, we Googled you, Smith. We see you're doing a project on gang stalking. Let's come down there to Miami and use some gang stalking on you to prove we're superior to you. No, you're not superior to me. I'm superior to you because I recognize and now I'm exposing you. And if you all want to keep playing these games, then I can report you to the Department of Justice and I can go get an attorney. And we can play this thing out in court. And we can see who's superior to who. Fellas, you understand? I left Shaker Heights High School for a reason. I could have came back my senior year, but I chose not to. That should have been the end of things. But when I came back to Shaker following my senior year to look at college options, because high school's over now, I start seeing you one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, all over town. And not just in Shaker, but in Beechwood, Maple, Mayfield, Warrensville, Pepper Pike, Richmond, East Cleveland, West Cleveland, Downtown Cleveland, Midtown Cleveland, Uptown Cleveland, Strongsville, Mentor, North Royalton, Westlake, Strongsville, Kirtland, Kirtland on the Lake, Sheffield. I'm seeing y'all all around Northeast Ohio and Northern Ohio at the same exact time I happen to be where I am. That's called synchronization, fellas. That's a gang stalking tactic that y'all were using. What was it meant to do? Y'all just happen to be everywhere I happen to be? All right, go handle your business. Go do whatever you need to do. Say whatever you need to say. I know the end of you all's high school career was embarrassing. Because of what happened with the Cleveland Heights Tigers. But you know what? Y'all should have ate your Wheaties that year. Or done a few hundred extra push-ups a week. Maybe you boys should have pumped steroids. It's not like they dope test you in high school. Maybe y'all have done better that year. I left. You can't blame me for anything. I was in Tennessee when all that crap happened. But if it's retribution you want, fellas, it's retribution you got. Now, I don't know who you all are going through or who your liaisons are or who you're calling Or are you calling? I mean, who are you calling? And I know a lot of the women y'all used to bop around with in high school are probably with you too, ain't they? Y'all probably got a vast network of people from Shaker Heights, not only from 2003, but down through the generations. There's probably basketball players from this last year's team for the Shaker Heights Red Raiders that went 9 wins and 14 losses. There's probably guys from that team that know me. Because apparently that coach that I haven't seen in 25 years keeps my name in his mouth down through the ages. It obviously hasn't done anything for his coaching record. It seems like every time I look at Shaker Heights High School's basketball record at the end of the season, it looks something like this: 7-15, 8 wins and 16 losses, 9 wins and 14 losses, 10 wins and 13 losses, 4 wins and 16 losses, 7 wins and 18 losses, 8 wins and 19 losses. It's like what happened to Shaker Heights men basketball team. I mean, and I'm trying to figure out why that coach talks about me to players in generations untold. I mean, if that coach is still talking about me in a derogatory way because I decided to leave that school, that means he needs to get his crap together. I mean, talking about me 25 years later hasn't helped his coaching record, that I can promise you. Maybe it's time for a new approach, coach. Don't make me the centerpiece of your team's failures. Maybe you should make them jump rope after practice or something to get that muscle twitching going so they can do better on offense and defense. A couple years ago, I looked on maxpreps.com and clevelandplaindealer.com to check up on Shaker, see how Shaker was doing. And I saw 5 wins and 21 losses. I said, God, goodness gracious. What has happened to the Shaker Heights Red Raiders? I played 1 year of varsity basketball, started for the team, got my accolades, got my varsity letter, and left. But you know what? I did something, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't think anybody in the history of that school did. Mid-season, I quit. I just got tired of the culture of the team. I got tired of the toxic environment. All right, the coaching decisions were disgusting me, and I quit. And the coaches asked me to come back. How many times have you ever seen that, ladies and gentlemen, on a top caliber basketball team, where a player quits and the coach calls him and asks him to come back to the team? Well, I know what that's like. And I finished out the season, having missed only 1 game that year. And then the following season, I transferred to Knoxville, Tennessee, Bearden High School, which maybe that could be the subject of another lecture. I don't know. Maybe not. I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm not exactly how sure my time at Bearden High School played into my gang stalking campaign. I'm just not quite sure. I'm not quite sure if Bearden High School in Knoxville, Tennessee has played into my gang stalking campaign at all, but I definitely know that my time at Shaker Heights High School had something to do with my gang stalking campaign. And I don't know if I have family members that are plugged into gang stalking. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if I have former teammates and coaches that are plugged into gang stalking and referred me or whatever they do in gang stalking. I just don't know. I just don't know. This mechanism is very well hidden. And even with all of the articles and posts and audio-visual content that I've uploaded, there are still parts of gang stalking that are a mystery even to me. And some of the things that I say about gang stalking, for example, how you become a TI, are speculative. Because the U.S. Congress hasn't addressed gang stalking, and we haven't heard anything from the president. So, I don't know what kind of investigations are going on in gang stalking, but I can promise you this. The first thing that any federal, state, or local entity will find when they look into gang stalking is that the people that practice it are spineless jellyfish. And that's why a lot of people tap into gang stalking, is because it allows them to act like a coward and then scurry off. And I think it's a shame that state resources allow people to conduct themselves in such a way at the expense of other people. You guys ever been annoyed by a fruit fly? They fly around your head. Sometimes if you're eating outside, maybe you got a picnic, they land on your food and fly off. And sometimes they fly around you all crazy and they land on your leg or your hand. At least that fruit fly has the guts to let you see him. That fruit fly is about 1/1000th of the size of a person. And yeah, it runs the risk of getting squashed or sprayed down with bug spray. But at least that fruit fly has the guts to fly in front of you and let you see who it is as it's pestering you. Gang stalkers don't even have the courage of a fruit fly. They want to pester you from behind the scenes in a clandestine fashion and then scurry off into the night like a cockroach. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is what it is. But if I've been being retaliated against for the past 25 years behind the scenes from people that I haven't seen in that amount of time for whatever reason, well, that's just a bunch of garbage. And I wish I had figured out gang stalking 20 years ago. I've been living my life since high school pretty much as if the world was my playground and that my merits would get me ahead. But if I had people from Shaker Heights High School or any institution interfering with my progress through clandestine means, well, that angers me. As a matter of fact, it pisses me off. I mean, quite frankly, and truth be told, I mean, if anybody from that school had drove up to my house and knocked on my door after high school ended, and I saw who it was, and they say, "Hey, how's it going? We played on the same basketball team, or we played on the same track team, or we played on the same, intramural soccer team, or we, we had a homeroom together, or we played on the same freshman JV or varsity basketball team this year. I wanted to say hi to you, wanted to see how you were doing," that kind of thing. I'd have said, "Hey, well, come right on in. We'll discuss it. And good to see you." That type of thing, right? But I'm not getting that. What I'm seeing is guys using street theater and synchronization to happen upon me all kinds of places. All right. If that's how y'all want to do it, it's not going to make me any fonder of you, and it's probably not going to make you any fonder of me. What's the point? What it really comes down to is the measure of a man. I mean, if I felt a need to make contact, I'd make contact. And some of you I ran into and said hi anyway, just to be nice or cordial. I was shocked and thrown off guard. Every time I walk out of a gas station anywhere in the city or the county, I see one of you approaching the gas station as I'm leaving. I'm on foot, you're on foot. I'm not exactly sure how close we were in high school, but I didn't necessarily consider us to be enemies. So I say hi, you say hi back, and that's the end of the discussion. I'll move on, you move on. But I ran into more of a dozen of you that same way. How peculiar that such a coincidence kept happening. Now I know what was happening. I gotta call you gang stalkers because that's called synchronization and it's called street theater. I mean, what was this? Was this one of those things where a group of guys gets together as middle-aged men and says, "Hey, you remember that kid in high school, the one Smith, the one who left? Let's try to show all the girls that used to know everybody how much better we're doing in life than him." So all that girls that thought he was so wonderful in high school and all those girls that wanted to do homecoming and back to school dances and all kinds of prom dates with him, and all those girls that thought he was so wonderful, all those girls back in high school that thought Emmanuel Isaiah Smith was so amazing, let's prove to those girls who are now women that we were better than Smith all along. Let's show all those girls that thought that Smith was the most amazing man they'd ever seen. Let's show those girls why we were the better ones and not him. Let's use street theater on Smith and try to prove to all the girls in Shaker Heights High School over the past 25 years that we're better than Smith and that we're doing better in life than he is, so that means we were better than him in high school. Well, I hate to tell you this, fellas, you ain't doing better in life than me. You're middle-aged men using spying protocols on somebody you ain't seen in 25 years. And you got exposed by him. And I don't know what those coaches of yours are up to, but I hope those coaches don't think, the coaches of the men's basketball team, I hope those guys don't think that they're going to tap into anything that resembles gang stalking for retribution. All right, those guys' coaching records are so bad that I don't see how they could be focused on anything outside of trying to get another winning season. I mean, those guys' coaching records are so bad, they probably go to sleep at night and dream on what it would be like to have had me on the team. That's probably why they sent y'all out to Miami. Those coaches are probably looking to ask me, will I come back down as a 40-year-old man and play for the team to help y'all get some wins? They probably had me come down. Smith, how you doing? We pulled some loopholes and we talked to the OHSSA, and we're happy to have you back even as a 41-year-old man. Here's your jersey. We're going to put you at the center position. Practice starts tomorrow at 3:30, and we're going to teach you some plays, Smith. As a 40-year-old man, we're glad to have you on the team. You're going to help us get some wins this year. We sent your old teammates all the way to Miami, Florida to find you, Smith, so we could bring you back to Shaker as a 40-year-old man and put you back on the team. We need some rebounding this year, Smith, and we think you're just the guy to do it, despite being 40 years of age. We're going to get you back in a jersey and some shorts, Smith. You're going to come back to this school at the age of 40 and play for the Shaker Heights Red Raiders basketball team. That's probably what you all were up to. Y'all need to get over some stuff. Now, I don't know what girls y'all were trying to show off to, but I'm pretty sure they're all wives and mothers now. What are y'all doing? Who are y'all trying to impress? All right, there ain't a single female that went to that high school in 2002 or 2003 that ain't a wife and a mother now, or perhaps just a mother. You know, baby mamas happen. We're from that generation. I had one myself. I'm not cracking on it or dissing it. I know it happens. But y'all are trying to show every wife and mother in Shaker that y'all were better than me all along. What kind of crap is that? And y'all are conspiring to do it. All right? And when we get old, all right, because I heard some of y'all were planning on trying to do me some harm when we're all old. So when you walk up, I won't be able to recognize you. I'm going to make sure to have surveillance around my property. I'm going to make sure to have every kind of pistol, shotgun, and assault rifle on the market in my home. And I will have dash cams and other security equipment on any vehicle I have, in case any of y'all try to ambush me when we get old. Okay, you had better be part cyborg to survive the self-defense tactics that I'm prepared to use. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm going to leave the lecture. Thank you for tuning in.